Hello, everyone, and welcome to Raising Arrows, the podcast. I am Amy Roberts. I'm the blogger behind raisingarrows.net, and this is a new venture of mine doing this podcast, and I'm hoping that it will be a great way to connect with readers and with other overwhelmed moms who just need a voice in their ear spurring them on. So today what I want to talk to you about is something that is integral to my website, and that is simplifying the big things so that you can enjoy the little things. And one of the biggest issues moms have is simplifying their schedule, finding enough time in the day and sticking to a schedule that works for them. So often we try on other people's schedules, trying to make them fit our life, and we quickly find that they don't work because we're trying to do somebody else's life. And that just isn't the way to go about this. You really need to start exactly where you are as a mom, as a homemaker, and put together a schedule that works for you. It's going to be one that you stick to because it's already kind of a natural fit for you. So I'm going to talk to you today about how to do this. I call it an at-a-glance schedule. Now, the reason I call it this is because basically it's on one piece of paper and it goes throughout my entire day in a very routine manner, not in blocks of time, but in snippets of this is what I do here, and then next I do this, and next I do this. It's basically do the next thing on a piece of paper. And it goes from when I wake up all the way to when I go to bed. And it is a way for me to quickly glance at my day and catch back up, figure out where I am if I get off track. It is a schedule that is only for me. It's not for my children. I have it laminated. It's near the places that I typically am. So I have a couple of them. One is at my computer station and one is near where I do school. And again, like I said, I call it an at-a-glance schedule because I can quickly glance at the schedule and get back on track. Because being a mom, and especially a homeschool mom, I am easily gotten off track. It is not uncommon for my day to start stellar and quickly be derailed, and I have to figure out how in the world I'm going to get back on track and get school taught and get the laundry done and get meals cooked and so on and so forth. And this at-a-glance schedule offers me that chance to just take a quick glance at what I'm doing, where I'm at, and get back on track. So let me help you put together your own at-a-glance schedule. And you can call it whatever you want to. That just happens to be the name that I ended up calling it years ago when I started doing this. So again, I'm going to reiterate that this is not a every 15-minute block of time or even every 30-minute block of time kind of schedule. This isn't something you're going to stick on your wall and the kids are all going to look at it and follow it. It's not that kind of schedule. This really is mom's schedule and mom's very bare bones schedule. It's not going to be the filler for every single aspect of your day. So you have to be prepared to fill in some of the blanks, and it's good because that gives you a lot more flexibility to put, say, a nature walk into your day without having to schedule the nature walk. Because if you're like me, you put a nature walk into your afternoon at 2 o'clock every Wednesday, and it never fails. At 2 o'clock on Wednesday, somebody has a meltdown, somebody hits a bloody nose, somebody needs a nap, and you do not do that nature walk that you had scheduled. So this at-a-glance schedule or mom schedule gives you that flexibility to not feel guilty that you didn't get that 2 o'clock nature walk in on Wednesday, but it also gives you the flexibility to put that nature walk in someplace else and not feel guilty at all. So let's talk a little bit about how to start this schedule. The very first thing you need to do is get out a piece of paper or a notebook that you've designated kind of as your notebook. I have a fantastic mom notebook. It's blue and sparkly and I love it. And it's my notebook. And I put a lot of things in there. And I'll be talking throughout this podcast about things like the mom notebook and the brain dumps that I do into this mom notebook. So initially, this notebook is going to hold just the basic rhythm of your day. It's going to start with approximate times when you get up and what do you do when you get up. Now, if you're a new mom, you're probably nursing a baby or you're changing diapers or something like that. Or maybe you're getting up and you're immediately feeding the children. Maybe you've got pets or outside chores you have to take care of in the morning. You're going to kind of fill in, what does a typical day look like for you? This isn't the perfect day. This isn't the day you wish you had. This is the day that you are actually having. And you will see that your day actually has a natural rhythm to it. You just sort of follow an A to B to C until you get off track. And that's where I want you to kind of stay as focused as you can with figuring out, what do you naturally do throughout your day? When you first get up, what do you do? What do you do around breakfast time? And is there an approximate time when you do have breakfast? What do you do at lunchtime? And when do you start school? And when do the kids usually go down for a nap? You can do this off the top of your head. You don't have to necessarily take a whole day to figure this out. You really could kind of go through it in your head because, like I said, this is a natural rhythm. You actually do already have a schedule. You just don't realize you have the schedule because you're always off track. So if you start by figuring out where the natural flow is to your day, where you naturally do these things, when is the time that you usually start school? For me, I would love to say that I start school at 9 o'clock, but almost every single day I start school at 10:30. So that's where I put my homeschool days starting on my at-a-glance schedule because it makes sense, because it's pretty much the same every day. By the time I get breakfast done and babies taken care of and toddlers taken care of and the house kind of tidied up and some other things going on there, it is 10:30. And rather than fight that and try to fit my life into somebody else's schedule who perhaps starts school at 9 or 8 or whatever, I need to follow the schedule that works best for me. And it's great if you can figure that out early on and not fight against it so much. Go ahead and go with what works for you. And if it's an afternoon schedule, like before you get to homeschooling, you have cleaning chores, or perhaps you have some other things going on in the morning and you're constantly feeling guilty for not homeschooling in the morning like a good homeschool mom, let go of that. Realize that your day is unique to you and it's afternoon before you get to those things. That's fine. Not a big deal because, again, this is your schedule and this is the schedule you're going to use and you have to stick to it. And you are not going to stick to a schedule that is not yours and not something you can own because it belongs to somebody else. Now, granted, it is great to try other people's schedules on. It is great to get ideas from other people. Some of the most wonderful things that have happened in my home have happened because I talked to another mom about how she ran her home and we tried implementing some of her suggestions, and sure enough, they were great and they fit our family perfectly. However, if you're trying to implement something that's not fitting your family, it goes totally against how your family naturally runs and the natural rhythm of your day, you are going to fall flat on your face. So this is not the time to be trying to overhaul your entire life. This is the time to really take a look at your life as it is and to start there. So after you have this natural rhythm of your day, you're going to make a list of things you'd like to do in your day, but they aren't really part of your natural rhythm. All of us have these things. It is one of those plights of motherhood where we have all these grandiose plans and ideas and hobbies and all these things we're going to do. And especially the homeschool mom is always looking for those amazing extras she wants to put into her day, like that 2 o'clock on Wednesday nature walk. And it's great to dream and it's great to dream big. So I want you to go ahead and write those things down. And I would encourage you to write those things down on a separate piece of paper or off to the side, because I can guarantee you can't fit them all in, not right now. What you can do is you can fit some of them in right now, and next semester or next year or even next month or next week, you could put in a different set of extras. It's okay to switch those extras up. You could do the 2 o'clock nature walk only during the spring and summer, and in the fall and winter, you do something else. You could have read aloud time instead. It's okay to switch things up. It's okay to not have the same exact schedule all year long. It's okay to perhaps wait a little bit longer to start school when it's summer out. For us, we school year round. And so we do school during the summer. And in the mornings, I let the kids play outside before it gets hot. So that could be an option where you change things up. But that comes later. What you need to do now is just write those things down. All those things that you would love to get in, including things that you want to do personally. Like, do you want to spend more time on your blog? Do you want to scrapbook or perhaps sew? Maybe you want to get some exercise and you're trying to figure out where to fit that into your day. You're going to write all those things down off to the side because they are not all going to fit in to your day and you're going to have to prioritize. When you prioritize, this is your opportunity to really think and pray over those extras that you want to do versus what God has you doing right now where you are. So as you prioritize, you can even number that list if you want to. And you're going to try to plug some of those in logical places. But please, please, please do not clutter your schedule up so much that you can't get it on one page and you definitely can't follow it. So what I'd like to encourage you to do here is perhaps you have a lot of extras that are art and music related. You're going to label that art and music. You're not going to put every single art and music thing into your schedule. You are simply going to try to find a time in your at-a-glance schedule that will work for an art and music section. Perhaps it's at 1 o'clock. You put the little kids to bed and you go to the table or an area, like a listening area. If you set up like maybe you have a piano there or a radio with a CD player. Perhaps you have some books there or instruments. The instruments might be kind of much if you've got kids napping, but you could even do some of this outside. And that would be an art and music time. Maybe this is when you get out the art supplies and you can do certain art projects during that time. But don't make it, on Monday we do this art project, and on Tuesday we do music appreciation, and on Wednesday we do, don't be so specific. You don't need to be specific here. You need to just say art and music, 1 o'clock. And in fact, you don't even need to say 1 o'clock. You could say art and music after lunch. So if you are kind of not wanting to put down times on your schedule, that's fine too. Just put lunch and then underneath it, whatever the next thing is. And if that's art and music, great. If you want to do something else there, that's great too. So you see what I'm talking about, though, with the headings. This isn't the specifics. This is a heading that gives you a lot of flexibility to what goes under that heading. But that time frame kind of tells you, hey, this is art and music time. If I get to it, great. If I don't get to it, I can either decide to pick it back up later than I would have usually, or skip it completely and move on to the next thing on the schedule. And it's okay because on another day, it is going to turn out fine. However, if you find yourself continually skipping over that art and music time at 1 o'clock or whatever your time may be that you find yourself skipping over very often, you may have stuck that in the wrong place. Perhaps 1 o'clock is a terrible time for you to do anything because you're trying to get babies down for naps and you have a child who really needs to go outside at that time, and maybe you need to actually make that outside time or something else, or maybe it needs to be rest time because you are beat by that time. If you are seeing that you are continually skipping over that particular period of time and that particular thing that you plugged in there, do reassess and figure out what is the natural rhythm of your day actually showing you. Are you needing to switch that up? What usually happens there? Plug that in instead. And then you are also going to have to cull some of those extras. You will have to get rid of some of those extras because you cannot possibly do them all. I'm in a season of my life right now where the only sewing I do is mending. That's all I can get to. I have 2 sewing machines. I have a serger. I have thread and fabric and patterns, and I would love to get my hands on them, but I am not in that season of life right now. And we live in a small house, and so my sewing machine is off in a corner, and it's hard to get to. And so the only thing I do there is mend because it has to be done. Otherwise, I wouldn't even do that. And it can't be part of my life right now. And that's okay. Someday, it probably will be a part of my life again. The same goes for scrapbooking. And actually, I'm really not interested in scrapbooking anymore. It's much easier for me to put the pictures into a photo book and order it. It's a lot easier to do that, and I don't have the desire anymore to scrapbook as I once did. So take into account what season you're in and cull some of those things, get rid of some of those things that just don't belong in your life right now, and they're actually cluttering up your life, and they're cluttering up your brain with feelings of either guilt or discontent. You don't want to live there. That's not a good place to be. Embrace the season you're in right now and go with it. You can do so many other things in this season. It may not be the things you used to do, or it may not be the things you think you long to do, but you will look back someday on these days of your life and really smile and remember them fondly. You won't even see the messes and the mars that were a part of your life because you kind of have this rose-colored glasses event that happens as you get older. You look back. I've been doing this all my life, it seems like. Everything that I look back on as a memory is kind of sugar-coated, and I like it that way. And I know that someday, all the troubles I'm having right now, I'm going to look back on fondly and think, oh, that was such a wonderful time in my life. When right now I'm thinking, oh, this is a nightmare. So it's okay to take some things out of your life and say, you know what, right now is not the time for me to do these things, but someday I will. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just where I am right now. And I'm actually going to find some things that do fit into my life right now that are really great. Perhaps you've got a little bit of time to read in a particular magazine. Order that magazine and spend a little bit of time looking at that magazine. Or maybe it's something you can do with the kids during this time that you couldn't do a year ago. Enjoy the little things because someday those are going to be some very sweet, sweet memories. Once you have this at-a-glance schedule kind of pulled together and things are plugged in and they look kind of neat and orderly, and again, try to keep it on one page because I laminate mine, like I said, and you don't want to have to be flipping the page over, and you don't want to have to be turning to page 2 and page 3 and page 4 because that's how long your day is. That is exhausting and very discouraging, so please don't do that. I also want to encourage you to have some margin in your day. Do not fill your day so full that you have no time to just breathe, because I guarantee you, you are going to need time to breathe. You are going to need time to catch back up. You are going to need time to decompress if there's been some huge event. You're going to need time to handle the huge event that you had to decompress from. So there's a lot going to happen in your day that you need to give yourself some grace and that margin. There is a really great book by Richard Swenson called Margin. I would encourage you, if you have the time, to read it. You might be able to get it on an audiobook as well. But I will post that in the show notes for you to check out. I read that book years and years ago, and it made a lot of sense that there need to be this sigh to your day. You know how books have margins and we write in them, and it gives a little bit of edge to our reading. You know, it's not just all packed in there. It gives us the ability to read at leisure. Well, that is what we're getting in our day. We need to be able to move with leisure throughout our day, not just race through it trying to catch up all the time. Because if you do fill your schedule super full, you are going to be catching up all day long. And that is not good for you. It puts you in a fight or flight way of life. It puts you where you're constantly stressed because you never feel like you've ever caught up. So do make sure that as you're plugging those things in from your extras list, that you didn't plug too much in. So the last thing you're going to do is write out your schedule fully, type it out, whatever works for you, and you're going to post it somewhere where it's just for you. And again, I said I laminate mine. It just keeps it neater and from the pages folding, and I can have it in the kitchen and it can get dirty, and that's okay. I do make more than one copy because it never fails. I need one in the kitchen, and I also need one where I teach school, and that's, kind of try to figure out where you need those copies of your schedule to be at, where you can quickly glance at them. And then always, always, always remember that this is not set in stone. You most definitely can tweak this schedule as needed. And please do not think that this is your final draft and this is the way the schedule is supposed to be. This is the perfect way. And if you don't get it perfect, there's something wrong with you, not the schedule. That is not necessarily true. Now, yes, we all deal with a measure of discipline or lack of discipline. We all deal with a measure of selfishness and laziness and things like that. It is just the human way where we tend to not want to follow the schedule because either we think it's not the free-spirited thing to do, or it's just bogging us down and it's so boring and we don't want to follow that schedule. I hear a lot of people consider scheduled people to be kind of uptight, and that's not necessarily true. A lot of people who are naturally scheduled may seem uptight to someone who's not. I would be someone who is not scheduled. I can readily admit that, and there have been times in my life when I thought, hey, I'm spontaneous. Well, yes, spontaneous, free-spirited, whatever you want to call that, but it has also created a lot of discord and disorder in my life, and that's not God honoring. It's not honoring to my family, and it's not honoring to the things that I need to do throughout the day that really need to be done. Not the things that I perceive that need to be done, but the things that actually do need to be done. I'm not honoring those by continually telling myself that it's okay that I don't keep on track because I'm being spontaneous and free-spirited. Especially consider the other people in your home as well. If you have children who thrive on a schedule, and most children do, you don't have to have a tight, rigorous schedule, but do consider the fact that children really do like to know what's coming next. I think we all kind of like to know what's coming next, and that at-a-glance schedule will offer that for you. It will give you the next step. That's all it is. It's not a have to. It's not a rule book. It's just a next step book. So if you need to tweak it, do so. Like I said, if you have plugged something in that just never seems to work, take it out and replace it with something that does work. Perhaps you filled it too full and you realize I have no margin in my day and I cannot keep up with this. Take some stuff out. Figure out what you need to do. This is a rough draft. It's not the final draft. You're probably never going to have a final draft. You're going to have a draft that works for a time, and then you're going to have to redraft. In fact, I'm in a season right now where I'm going to have to redraft. There are some things in my schedule that do not work with my baby daughter's needs. She takes a lot longer to eat than I've ever had a child take before. She has some special needs that we have to take care of throughout the day, and I can't fit in all the stuff I used to fit in. And so I'm going to have to take some things out, and that's okay. That's where we're at right now. She is getting better every single day, and she's amazing. And these days are not going to last for me. There's going to come a day where I'm going to put on those rose-colored glasses, and I'm going to look back at my sugar-coated life, and I'm going to say, you know what? That was a blink of the eye. I don't even hardly remember how difficult that was. I know it's difficult because I remember saying it was difficult, but oh, do you remember how we did this and did that because I had to take care of her needs and I had to slow down. That is going to be precious to me someday. And I'm trying to remember now as I'm in the middle of it all that it should be precious to me right now as well. I do want to offer you a chance to look at my at-a-glance schedule. It's going to be the old one unless I manage to get it updated. I will put that in the show notes. It's a PDF. You can just look at it. It's not something that you should mimic or try to recreate in your own life. This is my schedule. You can see how my day runs, and you're going to see some things about it that might surprise you. First of all, we are later risers than a lot of homeschool families. It's just always been our way. We tend to be night owls, and that in turn makes us later risers. I do rely on some audio and video to keep my younger crowd occupied during certain times of the day. At one point in time, I tried very hard not to rely on movies and things like that, but I have found that as I've had more children and I've had to work with a lot of different needs and a lot of different kids, I have had to put the TV as the babysitter, if you will, and get some time back. I have a 4-year-old who is extremely high energy, and sometimes I just need him to sit for just a little bit so that I can work with his siblings and not have him running into me or jumping up on the couch or anything like that. It's something that keeps him calm for a little bit, and then we can go outside and he can run off as much energy as possible. The TV is not evil. Audios are not evil. It's not going to rob your children of their imagination. He still has plenty of imagination. But you can easily become entranced by it where it's the only thing you go to when your child is having a difficult day. If you find yourself just throwing on a movie and you go take a bubble bath, or you're sitting for hours letting them watch TV, you've probably checked out of motherhood and you need to check back in. But a little bit every day, or it doesn't even have to be every day, but if it is every day, a little bit is not going to hurt. And you will see that in my schedule that at 4:00, that tends to be what they do. And why 4:00? Because that's when I need to start cooking and they need to calm down. I can't be standing over them. I can't be taking them outside at that time. The older kids sometimes do, but it's a little more difficult because I do tend to have the older kids help me with the meals. So at 4:00, I let them watch a little bit of TV, and it gets us through that time frame where I'm trying to cook, and things always seem to just go crazy at that time period. I'm also going to include some other links on the show notes for you, things that I think might be a little helpful for you. And I will be podcasting about these things as well as we go, but I'd like for you to have these resources at your fingertips as well. Some things like morning and evening chores and table chores and laundry. Some of just the real basics that go into your schedule. I'll link those in the show notes. This is show number 001. Yep, we're starting it out here. I figured you guys would really enjoy having some meat and bones to start out with, and just really get your day going. We're getting ready to go into kind of that planning time for the next school year. I know some of you do that hard and heavy in the summer, but a lot of you like to get to planning in the spring when we've got homeschool convention season going on, and it just helps to kind of have a focus of what is our day going to look like. I know that a lot of you don't homeschool through the summer, and so your summer schedule may be a little crazy, but that actually may be a really good time for you to try to do this mom schedule or at a glance schedule, because that's going to be a time when you kind of naturally have a little bit more margin because the days are longer. So you can kind of try a few things and tweak a few things. You can even do some of those extras you never seem to get in during the school year into your summer schedule. That nature walk that I keep referring back to, that may be a great thing to plug into your summer schedule. Now, I realize some of you have an extremely busy summer schedule with swimming lessons and things like that. But for us, typically summer kind of slows down a little bit, and especially with those later evening hours being able to be used where you can go outside, you may find that perhaps once a week you do a picnic or something like that, and your kids really make some great memories there. You can find the show notes to this podcast at raisingarrows.net/podcasts. It will be episode number 001, creating a simple schedule. I'll put beside it mom schedule so that that'll kind of jog your memory of what this actually is. And on those show notes, you will find links to different things that I mentioned in this podcast. So please go ahead and start trying to put together a schedule that really works for you and not against you. Go ahead and look at other people's schedules and think about what they're doing with their cleaning and their homeschool schedules, but don't try to make their life fit your life or your life fit theirs. Their way of doing things isn't necessarily right and yours is wrong. It's just different, and you are a different, unique family that God specifically put together, so honor that and honor that in your schedule. I thank you so much for joining me for this podcast. The next episode is going to be all about homeschool conventions. We're going to start with the vendor hall and we're going to move on through the speaker sessions, and I can't wait to have you join me again. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of these podcasts. I am super excited to be doing this because I really think that this is going to be a great way for us to connect. So until I talk to you next time, have a wonderful week and enjoy raising your arrows.